Well, welcome back, my radio friends, to another radio video. This show is dedicated much more to the listening part of the hobby, which is a part of it. I think I spend a fair bit of time doing program listening. Um, a lot of the time that I spend, well, lately I've been listening to a lot of hams, particularly on 80 meters at night. This morning, it's very early here in New Jersey, and I've got my relatively new Tecsun S-8800, which I am getting ready to do some kind of official review on, or at least a preliminary thoughts review. Really enjoying this radio. And this morning I'm using it to just do kind of a very early morning, some DXing work, I guess, what I would call DXing work on medium wave. I don't think this is the best medium wave receiver that I have. If I was really serious about logging some DX stations on medium wave, I would probably pull out a different radio. But as it is, I really like this radio, and I enjoy using it. It's I'll say more about it later, but um, I've been listening to a lot of hams, and its single sideband reception is really nice, and just really easy. And it's a pleasure to listen to and a pleasure to use. So I'll say more about that later. I don't think it's the best medium wave radio in the world. I do have it hooked up to the rear antenna terminal, so I can run my external antenna directly into it. And I understand it's still the internal ferrite is still operative on when you're using an external. I can't verify that. I think I've heard that, so it doesn't seem to make much difference. The reason that I really would rather pick a different radio for uh, uh, medium wave DXing at night, especially, is the lack of a RF gain knob, which would really put it over the top. It has a local DX switch on the side, which I don't sense does a whole lot. Doesn't attenuate anything. Yeah, it does attenuate, but not very much. Uh, but sometimes when I'm running, when I'm listening to medium wave at night, I'll turn on my other radios. I'll turn the gain all the way off, or all the way down, almost to zero or zero on some radios, and it works great. Just hear the strong stuff and none of the weak stuff. But anyway, so what I do with my, this kind of my structured. This is about as structured as I get in terms of radio listening. I don't keep a log for shortwave. It's just not my thing. But I do keep a log for medium wave. So what I have here is a spreadsheet that I worked out on. Actually, I wrote it on Google. It's very relatively simple to make, and each row is a frequency channel on medium wave. I don't know if you can see this. I really can't. I can't tell if I'm in focus or not. So if I'm not, I apologize. But this column here, local and fringe stations. So these are all the stations that I can pick up reliably every day during the day without question. And the really strong ones I put in bold. And there's a few that are really weak, really fringe stations. Like, you can't see it down here. I'll just tell you it's 840. Which is pretty close, actually. WBPO in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. So that's kind of a whopping 40 miles away, but it must be exceptionally low power because it's very weak here. And you can see that there's a couple spaces here of these are just vacant frequencies in the New York metro area. of which I live on the very outskirts of here in northern New Jersey. New York City is about 40 miles away. Um, so the nice thing in terms of AM listening is look at all these options that I have. I mean, look, I can all these stations, and this is just there's 3 pages of this. So there's an awful lot of medium wave stations that I can pick up. And I know in some areas, you might only have, um, I don't know, if I've lived in some other areas, you might only have 6 or 7 or so that you can reliably pick up. But I pick up all these, so that's cool. The second column, and I think I've got this mostly filled in, and I used an identifier aid online to help me identify some of these stations, but most of them I've listened to and I've ID'd directly. You can see as you get way up in the band, this is from about 1400 on up. There's only one strong one here, WRNJ in Hackettstown at 1510, but everything else is pretty darn weak or just non-existent. So that's kind of how I visually keep track. And I'm sorry, I've had this radio moaning here in the background the whole time. Much quieter now. So the second column, a nighttime DX, and this is pretty simple, is I log stations instead of keeping kind of a chronological log. I keep kind of a frequency chart log. And in Google Docs, I can put notes to something. So for example, here's WSVA in my old hometown of Harrisonburg, Virginia, which I remember very well. I've actually been on that station a couple of times, at least once, with some music stuff I was doing. So it's pretty cool to pick that up on 550. But I have a note here, WSVA, note number 1. So in Google Docs, I'll make a footnote for you. And oops, I guess I was just testing this out because that number 1 is gobbledygook. I guess I was just testing it. All right, so, but I do remember picking up that station. I think it's actually in the late afternoon, which is very unusual. That's very much a local station. It's kind of unusual for me to pick that up at any time of the day. At nighttime, they go into such a strange pattern, or they have a really strange pattern. If you have a chance to look up WSVA, I understand that is, I wish I could bring this up on the screen, because of some installations not far away in West Virginia. They have 3 towers, and they have to project their pattern in a strange way that doesn't cause interference. It's really interesting. Anyway, so this nighttime DX is just simply stations that I've logged, and again, most, if not all, of these are stations that I've identified myself without the use of, without having to look it up. I've got some sort of a station identifier, so you can see that I've mostly focused my DX work on the kind of on the bottom of the band, because by the time I get to 1200, there's just not much here. Of course, that's obviously these are graveyard frequencies. I forget exactly what the number is, but I think it's in this neck of the woods and on up where the graveyard frequencies are. I should know that, but I don't. See, I'm still learning. I haven't gotten quite that far to have that stuff emblazoned in my head yet. But what was I going to say? So you can see I just don't have any DX listed here, because on the Radiodog, that's just a jumble of noise, and I haven't quite spent the time to figure it out. But anyway, you can see there's some frequencies that I picked up several things. So like on 680, I picked up WRKO in Boston, CFTR in Toronto, and I suspect there's more. So the fun thing is, and there's one I think that has even more than that.
I don't see it. That's a different log I was working on. But there's a few of these, like for example, there's 1040 WCHR in Flemington, New Jersey, is a local for me. But I could pick up WHO in Des Moines at night, and I've also picked up WJMS in Montreal, which is, these are, it's kind of well, I don't know if that's unusual, but there's just 2 I found on 1040, and I suspect there's several others that I haven't found yet. So as I continue in the hobby, I suspect that this is not going to change very much at all. This is going to continue to grow, this column, Nighttime DX, um, so that there will be, well, it's just going to keep growing. The columns are going to keep expanding this way lightly, but it'll be interesting kind of in that kind of almost a graphic way to uh, kind of illustrate, you know, what's easy to access, what's harder, and, how infrequent it is. But anyway, this is my little logging thing, so I'm just going to spend a little time here and just dial through with you. What the heck? Decided I was going to make videos for my listeners and not for large groups of people, so I'm sure my audience retention in this video will diminish very quickly. So 570, that's WMCA in New York. I believe it's coming in too strong to be something else. I'm on really small bandwidth, by the way. Let's see, 2.3 kilohertz bandwidth. Well, let me tune to something. Okay, let me tune to something. Not a whole lot. I think. Oh, there's WSM. I don't. Yeah, there it is. WSM in Nashville. That's a fun kind of reliable DX station. It doesn't come in great every night, but some nights it just comes booming in. Look at that! I got a. I guess I got to turn off the music, don't I? If you play more than a few seconds of music on these videos, YouTube has a fit. Here's a good one. Pumping his fist and the crowd's cheering, the better. The less he's opening his mouth and saying something awkward. This is 670. I want to say it's Phil in Medford, Massachusetts. Phil, you're up next here on CBS Sports Radio. How you doing? I just watched it. Okay. Oh, I hate those. I hate those ESPN different networks, and when you listen to the show, they hardly ever identify the station. They just identify the network, which drives me crazy. I think it's just deliberate to kind of keep you somehow searching, but ESPN Sports Radio or CBS, whatever it is, you kind of got to wait around forever to figure out what the station actually is. I believe this to be WSCR in Chicago, but I'm not sure, and I'm not going to listen that long enough to find out. But it's too strong to. I think it's too strong to be something else. I don't know. You never know. Sometimes it'll not come in the next night, and another night it'll be inaudible. But anyway, so this is my system for AM logging, and I've mentioned it in a couple of other videos, which when I get around to it, I'll put a link down on the info in case you're interested. But yeah, it's time for another cup of coffee. So thanks for checking in and watching, and we'll see you again for the next radio video.